All right, thank you so much for joining us. We are here with another edition of Behind the Scenes Beauty. I'm your host, Derek Monroe, and today I have with me like two of my idols as a hairstylist. I want to call them influencers before there was actually influencers, and I'm going to tell you why. I did this whole conversation this morning in my head. And what I was saying is, people don't realize that you guys are the reason why they buy hair color, why they go and try new hair products, because you guys are the face of a lot of the hairstyles on the Dark and Lovely box, a lot of the campaigns in the ad from Pantene, all of that stuff. So when you go into these beauty supplies and everyone tries to decide whether or not the hairstyle or the color is gonna look good on them, they base it off of what you guys have put out and have been doing for years. And I don't feel like you guys have really gotten the accolades and the shine. So that's really why I wanted to do this, so that I could really tell you guys how much you mean to me and how much I appreciate you guys. And so here I have with me, that was a big intro, sorry, but I wanted to explain that. But here I have with me Oscar James and Chucky Amos. And so I'm just gonna jump right in and I'm just gonna ask you guys, like, how did you get started in the hair industry?
Well, for me, I've always been doing hair since I was a child. So I never thought about it as a career. I wanted to be an architect. I like art. But then I saw how much math was involved. I'm like, oh, that's not gonna work. And then I went to a beauty salon with my mom and I saw there was actual business where they did hair. I told the lady that I was interested. So I started then. So I got my cosmetology license in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too. When I was a child and I loved hair, and that's all I did was play with Barbies. Then I started doing my friend's hair, and then I went to hair school in summers, and I learned how to cut and do other things with hair, and came to New York because I wanted to follow fashion instead, and I tried to do fashion, but hair was my love and my passion, and to make money, $10 a hairstyle at FIT campus. I was just doing hair for all the kids there, but they were like interning at magazines, and they were like doing the door at all the clubs, and so my hair was actually being seen. And so that's how I started. Right off the campus of FIT, I started working for magazines.
Oh, so you went straight into magazines?
Yes.
Okay, so we sort of had a conversation earlier, and what I realized is y'all didn't have no middle ground. y'all went from here to here. Because Oscar, who was your first celebrity?
My first celebrity client was Vanessa Williams.
Okay, who? Okay, the first, like, Miss, what was it, USA?
She was Miss America.
Right. So you started out with the first Black Miss America. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I was working in a salon in Manhattan then, and the owner got asked to do a fashion show, and she couldn't do it. So I went and did this fashion show instead of her. And there was a guy there, a makeup artist, Sam Fine. Okay. He saw me doing hair, and he'd been working with Vanessa, and he knew she needed someone. I think her hairdresser just passed away. But he introduced me to her, and I was scared shitless, like beyond. You know, kind of like I am today still. But yeah, it was surreal because I was a huge fan. I definitely out of place. I felt nervous, but I just pushed through, like kind of like now. That's what I do. I'm still nervous when I go to work, but I just
really
kind of push through. Yeah. I think I don't know if it ever gets super easy, but you know, just yeah.
And if anyone, I'm going to continue on Vanessa, that if any of the young kids out there that only know Vanessa as Vanessa Williams now, back then she was the Obama. Before the country had Obama, we had Vanessa Williams because there was no Black person of our skin tone tagged to the word United States or USA or anything like that ever in the history of like our culture. So she was the very first one to be Miss United States of America for our culture, and that was before Obama, and the whole country was lit up. So I could see how you were extremely nervous.
Oh yeah, I was a huge fan. Yeah,
I remember being so excited about her, just having Black representation. You know,
she was everything beauty though. Like she had it all. She could sing, she could dance, she was beautiful.
Yes.
So she was like the epitome of glamour to me.
Smart, college. Instrument.
So I was out of my mind.
But. Okay, so Chucky, tell us who your first celebrity was.
My first celebrity was Tasha Jones, Miss Jones. She's Where I Wanna Be Boy. She was a radio celebrity with Angie Martinez
Love that
and
song.
Wendy Williams, yes. But it was the fact that her first video was shot by Hype Williams, and he brought all the great kids in, like SWV and Moni Love and a slew of like Busta Rhymes, and I got to meet everyone. And I didn't know the magnitude of Hype Williams until we went to the party, the video party, and all these celebrities were there, and I was like, I just couldn't believe that I was a part of doing hair for this girl who's associated with all these celebrities, and that was my very first time.
So do you still find that you get nervous like Oscar still? Or?
Yes.
Because you have such a big personality. Oscar's a little bit more chill, but you have such a big personality. I find that so hard to believe.
I guess I'm more nervous inside, wanting to make it great and wanting to like make a point or like speak through the hair, and that's where I get nervous about. I don't know if they're gonna like let me do it, or if I can, or if it's gonna be too wild for them. But that's mainly where my nerves are coming from.
Yeah, because he has big dreams.
Yes,
I mean, bitch, I'm trying to get through it. Okay.
I want to push the envelope, but that was always my thing.
Yeah. Right.
I live in a fantasy. I'm club kid grounded, and all that whole thing, and drag queen sort of taught in hair, so things have to be bigger than normal. Like in my world, it's a bigger place. Everything's bigger, everything's more wild. So I want to push the boundaries, and especially editorial. That was my goal back then.
I feel like though that's your strong point, and I feel like that's why people hire you, because they know they're gonna get big and they're gonna get texture. Like you're the king of texture.
Yes.
Yes.
This is
So
true.
I think
I want to thank.
Yeah.
I want when you're viewing it to be in awe, that like you can feel the picture, but you can never be that, because that's why that's a magazine. That's why that's a movie, because it takes you to a place that you want to be a part of, but you can never be a part of. But if you can immerse the viewer into the pictures of that hair, then it gives them something that feels aspirational. Yeah, something like they're to fall down on their knees to see. And that's what I want. That's the excitement I want.
as a hairstylist, I feel like that. Like, I'm always looking at your stuff and trying to figure out where you even started. You have, I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin to build that or create that or how to make that happen. So when I look at your work, I feel like you're like an evil genius. Like, you put stuff together in a way that I could never imagine at all. So one of the things, like, okay, so me coming to New York, I've been in New York for like 7 years now, and you guys are like a roadmap for me. I want to know, who was the roadmap for you guys? Like, you're coming here, because I don't know a lot of the black hairstylists that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like there was Vidal Sassoon and all these like different people at one point that were like in the Caucasian realm or the European realm, where they had people to look forward to or look up to. Who did you guys look up to?
Well, John Atchison, he was
Black?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did hair. He did a lot of hair for a Cosby show as well. He did,
okay.
I know he used to do it with Felicia Rashad. John Atchison, I love Floyd Kenyatta.
Floyd with Paul. You used to work with Paul Mitchell.
Yeah. So
was Floyd?
There wasn't a lot of them, but
was Floyd in like the glamour, like the celebrity?
He was mostly a platform work. So he did a lot of work with like Soft Sheen.
Yes.
And to me, I always looked to Soft Sheen for hair inspiration, and he was big with. And then there was a guy who did wigs, Michael Weeks, I think his name was. He did a line called "It's a Wig," and he was huge to me. Like, he was everything to me. Yeah, but we didn't have a lot. But
Gerard, do you remember Gerard?
Yeah.
Like, he was somebody I remember looking at him all the time, because he was always doing fusion. Yeah. When everybody was trying to do fusion weave, he was big on that.
He was around my age though. It's like I didn't really look up to him, but he's definitely a genius stylist. Who would you look up to?
So I'm sitting next to who I looked up to. Oscar was one of three for me, because when I started looking towards black hair editorials and celebrity hair, it was always when you went into the gutter. They call it the gutter in the magazines. That you would go in the gutter, they would always say Oscar James, and the hair was always slicked from the roots. and that was one thing that when I was looking in white editorials at black hair, the white artist would never get the roots of the hair. I mean, it was like Rashamba with her afro and a ponytail coming out of it. And we were like, what's going on? So when you saw something like Oscar's work, and Oscar was the first one in my eyes to make hair look movable and flowable, and it had movement in the hair that you did, like for Vanessa and all that. And he gave body to Black women's hair that wasn't product driven, and that was the one thing that, like, I was so happy to meet you that time we all went out dancing. That was the first time I met you. And the other one was Ellen LeVar, because she did Lisa Bonet's hair, and everyone thought that Lisa Bonet's hair was real. It was all extensions, like the entire thing, even the dreadlocks.
But she did do an amazing job on it.
Yeah, it was great.
That was in the time where we couldn't decipher, like we weren't grasping hold of extensions like that. So we were baffled, like, she had a little time off and grew her hair right on.
Yes.
Ooh, her hair grow fast.
Right. What is she using?
Yeah, we were like, oh, your hair's really curly. When you relax it, it like grows. It's like that. There's like 10 inches of curl here.
Right.
And you could tell anybody. Plus, I was living in a white neighborhood, so it was only my cousins and all the white kids that were like, they were amazed. It was like a magic trick. And
it's funny you say that though, because I would see him all the time. He'd be like, I want to do that. I want to do what you're doing. I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah,
you know?
I didn't even have a stove,
he was
so
just
I could never have brought the hair to the
And then
glory.
there was so many things that you did that I wanted to do. Like, I've just never been that adventurous, and I wouldn't look at myself as trendy or super creative. I like texture, and I like a good finish and a good cut. So that's where my focus is. I don't have a lot of time to like go beyond that. I'm so busy trying to get the texture right and the body and all that.
My third one was Janet Zootan, who does Janet Jackson's hair. It was Janet Jackson's hair throughout MTV culture that I wanted to do hair. It was, now they have wigs and all kinds of textures and Remy's and blah, blah, blah. But back then there was only this like one texture, because if you know of hair extensions, it derives from the time when we had Jerry curls. Jerry curl was the base form of what the extensions were given. So like if you hear an LL Cool J's song, a perm in your hair or even a curly weave with your new addition Bobby Brown button on your sleeve, that is because curly weaves were it. And the curly weaves were natted and they would stay, I bet you, and the woman would talk and they'd come up and the whole shoulder would be molded from here. And it was like one big like insulation, like housing insulation.
And
like
they used to put them in a circle.
Yeah, and it was horrible.
So they grow up like this. When they got old, they grow up like this.
And I saw Janet Jackson on the videos, and she was, you know, what have you, and it was moving, there was air, and I was like, who's doing this? It was like a magic trick. And there's a point in Miss You Much video where she goes like this, and hair weaves have never looked that way. I VCR'd it, and I did it in slow motion, and I was like 16 years old, and I was obsessed. And she did an article in Black Sophisticates, and I was still in high school, and my mom and I called her salon and talked to her about pleasure principle, because we said, how can you get, is that a wig, what is she wearing? And she told us herself that they ironed the straight wig, the straight weave on an actual clothing iron, and then put them in Janet Jackson's hair for pleasure principle. And I was blown away.
He is an archive.
I was blown away.
Hair archive.
I mean, like, hair is like my obsession.
Clearly, I feel.
He's definitely one of the reasons I agreed to do this. Just listen to him talk. I can just listen to talk about hair.
Right.
Even though I love hair, I don't have that thing.
I don't either, and I feel he got me feeling like trash.
Oh my God, terrible.
Like you want to go home like,
right.
No, but I'm like one of those like, you know, challenge kids who like all they want to do is that. Mary J. Blige called me a Jack Russell with a ball, because every single time I'm like, oh no, that little thing, and you saw me like on the Vanessa show, I'm constantly oh no, and that one goes here, oh no, but move over here, and then oh no, and I'm doing it constantly, and Mary was like, my hair's not going anywhere. You're like a Jack Russell. So we were doing a shoot, and Mary would go like that with her hair. She'd go watch, and she'd just flick it, and I would like come right out and come on it, because I'm super obsessed. I'm super obsessed with hair. Everything's hair. I can't get through the day without like looking at people's hair and wanting to change it in my head. I'm like, I can't.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So now things have definitely changed. We were talking a little earlier where I think, Chuck, you were saying people said it must be so hard without a phone, you know, when you guys' careers were starting, and the whole influence of Instagram and social media and all this stuff. Was it easier or harder? Like, how was...
I want to ask you, because I watched you also.
I don't know if it was
as well.
I don't know if it was harder. It's just, we just did our work. You know what I mean? It wasn't about the pictures, you know, or getting to the right celebrity or posting stuff. We just did the work. You know, so, and it just kind of happened.
So it wasn't this whole like competition and who doing who and all of that kind of stuff?
No, there wasn't a lot of us, so there wasn't a lot of competition.
Right.
And you didn't get to see it. It wasn't so in your face. Whereas now, it's just in your face.
Right.
So a lot of times you just feel like, okay, well, I could be doing a little more.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I think it's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
Yeah, it was definitely easier. The door was open and there was a lot of seats available in the industry.
Yes.
And they say like I was kind of like one of the first black kids to go to fashion or to go over to Europe, but it was because there were seats open for that.
Yeah.
I wrote Orlando PETA letters for 2 years, and it seems like a long time then, but like 2 years is quick to like have someone just open the door for you in 1991 to go do fashion.
Yeah.
And
well, nowadays it's not quick though, because now they have access. They have access to so much, you know, and you can reach out and reach. You can reach that beauty person now. You know?
Some of those people, some of the people that I've sort of come across in this new, like, known hairstylist realm, it feels like to me some of them are using it as a pathway to be famous in a way. Mm-hmm. Do you feel? I mean, not everyone. So let me be clear.
Right.
But I feel like there are some. It just feels different. Like I feel like when I was coming up, same way. I just wanted to do hair. I didn't think about celebrities, and when that option came, I was like, "Oh,
right,
wow, you can do that in that facet, and wow, that's very neat." But I didn't really think about that, and I didn't think about how it was people were gonna view me because I did it. I was just happy to have my work. I didn't think about me. It was the fact that your work was gonna be seen to a broad audience, and people could see your work. It wasn't, but now I feel like it's sort of changed. Do y'all feel that?
I feel that we're in like a disposable culture, a quick disposable culture, where like even in fashion, clothes turn around at H&M and at Macy's and other like big outlet stores or stores sooner. There's no more 6 seasons of like summer and fall. And it's the same with hair. It's like the Instagram. It's only like the greatness of an Instagram picture lasts like a day or a day and a half, and then we're on to other things. And it's you get a lot of information, but you get it fast and you can't focus in on anything. Like why the world is so beautiful, or you go to a sunset, is because it takes a while for the sunset to go down. So you have time to look at it and soak it in and be a part of that. And that's probably where we were in the beginning of our culture. You could sit at a magazine and look at everything and really read the gutters and really see things. And that was the only magazines you had. You had to wait a whole other month after you got through the first 5 magazine subscriptions by the first 2 days. You had to wait a whole month for it to come out. That wasn't just there. And it's like nature and trees. You go and everything's still, and you feel the peace of that, and you can really focus in on it, and it makes you feel great. Whereas now, if you're going on a fast-moving train, your eyes are in rapid movement back and forth, and that's what's going on with our culture, and it's disposable. And there's a lot of great things that should be focused on, but you're this one and that one and that one and this one and that one and this one, and it's so fast.
I feel like it was just more organic for it, because you were mentioning it. It just, for me, it just sort of happened. Like I never really wanted to work with celebrities. It's just, like you said, the opportunity came up, and I was like, okay, I can make the money I made in one day that I used to make in a week.
When I ordered it, Dave, just between us, it was so good I have to. Right soon, love and kisses, Iman.
You know Iman? When you got it, you got it.
So it was a no-brainer. So I knew it was a lot of stress, and that's why I never really sought it out.
Yeah.
But when it came, I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll give it a try. And then one thing just kind of led to the next. Well, I think people are now, they're building careers. Like they go out for that. Whereas for me, it wasn't that. It just kind of happened.
Yeah. Okay, so one other thing I want to talk about is the longevity that both of you guys have had. The fact that, you know, you started out with maybe Iman, and then you revamped, let's be clear, you revamped Nicki Minaj, Tiffany Haddish. Like, how is it that you're staying in this rotation? And same way with you, Chucky. I mean, Tracee Ellis Ross, if she comes to the city, it's all about Chucky. And everyone knows that. Alicia Keys, all of these people. So how have you guys maintained relevancy in a forever changing world of hair?
Yeah, I've been fortunate that the girls that I started with, they still work today. I met Iman, Tyra Banks, and Vanessa Williams the same year in 1994, and they're still working. So,
yeah.
And every now and then I'll meet like a new girl, and I met Nikki. She sought me out. She saw Tyra's hair and she liked Tyra's hair, so she sought me out. And so that was that opened up a whole nother door for me. Like just when I thought my career was kind of, that started everything over again. And so she has a huge fan base. So it was like, I was popping again.
It was, I just remember everybody was like, she looks regular. Nothing was wrong with it, but it was just beautiful to see, you know, because of course the colorful wigs is what got her through the door. But it was great to see her transition to an adult woman. And the way you did that so flawlessly, kudos to you, my friend.
She carries that look today.
She does. She does.
Thank you very much. She's a beautiful woman.
She is.
You know, and the clothes are always right. So I just kind of put my hair on her. So it's like this new world. It wasn't nothing that I was, well, it was kind of something because I'd never done that before. The blonde wigs with the dark wigs, I'd never done that before. So I did try that out and she loved it. It just so happened to work for her.
Gotcha.
So that opened that door, which was lovely.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Great.
What about you?
How you keeping longevity, Chuck?
Well, for me, I feel like I want to say I would put my ear to the floor, but I pretty much hang out with young kids, and I'm kind of awarded to still be on shoots with young directors and young minds. And I look at everything, and I look at the kids on the street, and I try to go where all the young kids are. And they're just expressing things differently. And if you can take whatever skill you have from whatever generation, hair, there's pretty much the same skill with a curling iron, or you know, if you know it all, you can pretty much put it together and make it new and modern. And for me, it was having a modern mind, like a young child, like a teenager, a 20-year-old, and ideas, but having the execution and the discipline of being an old, faithful, like you're not gonna go wrong if you have Chucky on the set sort of like atmosphere. So both of those combinations kind of work because you can get the young person to get the stuff, but then it may take them, which is a lot what's going on with Instagram, it may take them 3 or 4 hours to create a style that you could do in like 45 minutes. And with people putting their money on time, that they'll go with the safe hood who knows that expression.
Well, he's the king of technique though, and he's always trying something new. So I think that helps as well.
Yeah, because I went beyond the beauty supply store, but that's all like drag queen club kids stuff. Because if you ever go to a drag queen's house or a club kid's house back in the 90s, it was scattered with all stuff from like Michael's and all like hardware stores, and you know, they're drilling wigs together, and you're just like, I can't believe all this is happening. And if you take that and make it something, it brings you to another level of hair because you're actually building things, and you're building hair, and you're letting people see that other thing. You're showing them ideas that they would not see. And when I first was doing that, I was just considered like a crazy club kid weirdo, because half the time I was doing hair like on LSD or ecstasy, and I don't care if you say that because it's in my articles back in the day. That's what we would do. We were working like for ID magazine, and it was free, and you just do it. And when I went to Europe, I found that the avant-garde hairdressers were doing the same thing as the drag queens and the club kids here, only in ateliers. And they had all the money from Chanel and Gaultier to budget their work. And so coming back, my little club kid stuff looked avant-garde because I had a reputation of going there. And so that's kind of what kept me relevant. And then when I turned to the black culture, I wanted to stay in the white world of hair, and I wanted to just be fashion, and I didn't really want to have any association really with the black industry in hair.
Why do you think that is?
Because all the ideas and the fantasies were coming from white magazines, and then I would look at the black magazines and go, oh, I feel like I'm in church. Yeah. And I used to say that to Essence all the time.
All the time.
That there was no
beauty, no fashion.
Yeah, there's no fashion. Jesus has nothing to do with fashion, and all that stuff. And that's what. And I had a hard time, but I've opened the doors for Essence. That's why they have such extravagant hair now. Yeah. It used to be you couldn't drop the hair down for collarbones and all that stuff. And I brought the styles that I did in Europe back to Essence. And their explanation was, well, those are not sister styles. Those are not styles that sisters wore. And I was like, well, I just did Tyra and Naomi and Kadra and Cristal and all the black girls in Europe with these hairstyles. And they were sisters. Yeah. And so why are we not? No, because they know Nikki Taylor loves me now. Because I let them see that like that we have to start incorporating our black women on American soil, with what the white women on American soil are getting through Vogue and Elle.
Yeah.
And we only have one outlet, and that was Essence.
Yeah.
So we had to break down the stores. And so that sort of really gave me a name that was like, well, he can bring the European techniques over to us. And then that's when the advertisement came and all that stuff. And that's what kind of kept me relevant.
Yeah.
Was solidifying that gap. Because now I'm doing a lot more black hair than I'm doing white hair. And I enjoy it now because black hair is being celebrated to the 11s where it wasn't before.
Yeah. So, okay, so how did you merge into products and working more so with the Dark and Lovelies, the Cream of Natures, the Pantenes? How did that come about?
I started working with like the L'Oreals and Soft Sheen because I could do black hair like seamlessly. That's what I was best at. Is even if I had used extensions, you would never be able to tell because I just blended seamless.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the companies, they couldn't hire people to do it.
Right.
They didn't want the black people, well, the black hairdresser on set. So a lot of times, like Tyra, I do Tyra's hair, but she would try to hire me. They wouldn't hire me because I didn't have a portfolio. So I would go to her house, do her hair at night before the shoot, and then she'd go to the shoot. And then when she got enough clout, to ask for who she wanted and be able to book them, then she started to be able to get me on shoots. But yeah, for a while, I'd do her hair at night, and then she'd go to the shoot the next day.
That's crazy. Yeah. So wait a minute though, you said you didn't have a book, but by this time you had already done Vanessa Williams and all that. That still wasn't enough for them?
No. It takes a while to build a portfolio. Of course I had, a couple of pictures here and there, but no, not when you got the other kids with, they have a plethora of stuff in the books. Probably not a lot of black stuff, but celebrities is the way to go. And if you got us a lot of celebrities in your book, that's who they want.
Right.
I didn't have that.
Right.
So I had to work at it.
So for hair care for me was through the window of Oscar James here. He recommended me because he was already doing it. And I guess he just believed in me enough to say, well, you should try Chucky. And so they tried me as well. And so I got my foot in the door with that too. And of course, watching Oscar's stuff and knowing like what they want for black hair with the seamless and the whole thing. And then I always tried to push it from there. And
you were saying earlier about maybe you had worked with Beyonce, and that's where some...
Yeah, so I started out with Beyonce when she had the curls during the Austin Powers time. And so they were like, oh, he does curls. And so when Pantene approached me, they saw the curls and they wanted curls like Beyonce and they wanted that feeling. And they had a new product out called Relaxed Natural. And so they put me on contract for 1 year.
Okay.
However, I couldn't speak or do demonstrations without nervously like sweating and stuttering. But my work from the pictures kept me on for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
And then they called me back for the Gold Series, which was cool.
Oh, cool. Okay, because I remember you were like the face for Soft Sheen, right?
No, it's not Soft Sheen. I had a contract with John Frieda 4 years, maybe 2-3 years. And then I did Clear. It was called Clear. I think it was just those two of my biggest.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was actually looking up stuff and I was looking at the one you had did with Tracee Ellis Ross, like this whole commercial bit that you do with Tracee, and you're like, throw all of these products.
Yes.
Throw all of these products out. You just need this one oil.
I forgot about
the
that.
Optimum 6-in-1 from Cream of Nature.
So you were doing that before Instagram even got big. You were doing that. So.
Yes, yeah, that was cool. Tracee asked me to do that because she was like, you're the master of curls, and I want the curls to look good, and this whole thing. And
was that your first acting debut?
Probably.
See, we were like the perfect duo because the stuff I couldn't do, he could do, and the stuff he couldn't do, I could do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And then he just started coming into my territory. I'm like, wait a minute, nigga, it's a little too slick, it's a little too pretty now. Going back over to the afros.
Okay.
Yeah, because Chucky's known for like texture.
Yes.
Yeah, texture and shape. He's always huge on that.
Yes.
I've always admired that about him.
Because you're drawing.
Yeah.
Because you're drawing. Because the shapes and all that comes from. This is good. I want to give it to the young kids. You're doing illustration, and I've said it before on Facebook that where illustration, you're using a flat page to make 3D? Well, first off, everything ends up flat
Right.
at the end of the day. The only thing that's round is the earth, but everything that we're doing editorialized, it's either on a flat tablet or a flat phone or on a billboard that's flat or on a flat piece of magazine paper or a comp card, whatever it was. We weren't that advanced to have like, well, look at my hair, and you could spin it around in your hand, or your book had 3D to spin it around. Everything's flat. So you're basically making illustration. Illustration is to make flat things look 3D. So you put things in front and things and make them draw smaller to give the depth of field. And with doing hair for editorial or anything that's going to land on a flat page or a tablet, you're doing the opposite. You're making a 3D vision flat. So there's so many things that you can do to make things flat that come out, and no one ever sees the back. And the magic trick is they will assume that it goes around to the back. They'll assume within the picture that it's 3D. And that's where the magic is.
Could you imagine this high?
I've never been high, but
and most of my hair advertisements, and I can say it out loud because it's like, this is real life. A lot of the advertisements, the hair is pushed to the front so much that it's flat in the back. She turns this way and it's like a cardboard flatness. But because the fantasy is the fantasy.
Because I could have sworn that new Essence was yours.
Yes, I could have swore it was too.
Really?
They stole, oh, come on.
Yes.
They bit you some fierce for that.
Yes, it was, but I had two feelings for that, because one was, oh wow, I can't believe that Tracy's letting someone go there with her hair, because I've done it for like 10 years, 16 years, and we've never done things where you add so many pieces and all that kind of stuff. I know she does it for Blackish because it's a character, but when it becomes Tracy Ellis Ross, she's Tracy Ellis Ross.
Right.
And but the other part of me says I opened doors for that to happen. And at this point in my life, I don't need the Instagram picture. I need the check from the advertisement companies. But it's great to know that like up and coming Black stylists are having that window like I did, because I remember when the other Black stylists, even not you, Oscar, but other kids, they were, oh my God, Chucky's the new guy and he's doing it and he's taking it. And I was like, oh my God, there was a lot of things that I took away from other ones just because the industry saw me as cutting edge. So I have to release that now, and I have to let the new kids have theirs, have their say.
Well, I'm not a new kid. I'm like in the middle.
Yes, you are.
But let them know. I feel like there are some younger ones that are really the new kids, because these wigs and stuff have taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But I feel like when I first thought that I was like officially on my come up was when there was two moments in my life when I was on my come up. When I got the chance to do Iman the first time, because I was like, oh my God, if someone that Oscar does feels like I'm good enough to do her hair, then I must really be on the come up right now.
Well, how'd you get there?
Valente.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Valente, her makeup artist, which Valente was very instrumental in my come up in New York. Actually, he introduced me to her, he introduced me to Tasha Smith, and he helped me out with Tyra. He helped me out a lot, you know, and I'm sure, so it was Valente.
Yeah, I put in a good word for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I needed that.
We have many makeup artist alliances, because our alliance is Sam Fine. Sam. If it wasn't for Sam, I wouldn't have been where I am either at all.
Definitely not.
At all. No, because he put me on to Vanessa when you weren't around. He called me up on the phone, and I used to do tests with Sam. Sam, and Keith Major would do tests.
Oh, yeah.
And I met Sam at FIT campus. He was doing a model named Roz from Chicago. And I was just doing the girl's hair backstage at FIT because I was just in hair on campus. And he was doing her face and he was like, oh, you're really turning that hair out. And I was like, oh my God, you're turning this girl's makeup out. And he was like, I'm working at the A&S counter for not fashion fair, another one. Right. And so we went up there and you'd see women lined up buying one lipstick so Sam could do their whole face, because he would build a face because he's of that Kevin Aquan school of building a face. Right. And but for our community. Yeah. And Sam, we hooked up and he said, let's do tests together. And I tested with Sam. And so that's how we started. And he's kind of our alliance for both of us.
Yeah, I felt official when we worked on The Box, and they hired me to be an assistant over at Dark and Lovely to Oscar.
That was what, 3 years ago? Maybe?
No, but that's still, listen, there's still levels to this thing. And so when you get to certain levels and you're like, oh my God, they trust me enough to work alongside him, that says something. But I'll never forget, Chuck, you probably don't even remember this one. But we was on an Essence shoot. He was doing the beauty story, because they never give me a beauty story. But they gave him a beauty story, and I was doing the fashion thing. And we were talking about how long we had been in New York, and probably at that time, I'd probably been here for like 3 years, 4 years. And Chucky was like, we were just saying it out loud, and Chucky said, Derek, you've been here how long? And he was like, well, why do I know your name? If you've only been here that long, it's like, why do I know your name? And I said, it's official. He's put the stamp on me. He knows who I am. And that really did change my life, because I really have admired both you all's career for so long. Okay, so where do you guys see the future for you guys? Where do you want to go now, this place in your career?
I'm on the other side of this. Like, I'll be 55 this year. Okay. And so I'm looking to retire in 10 years or so. So right now, all I want to do is union work, because there's benefits attached. You know, I'm looking at I want a pension. Okay. And health insurance. Okay. And they take the taxes out, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay. Because a lot of us get in trouble with not paying our taxes, and so I've been mindful with that. But yeah, I'm starting to wind it down now. I want to retire in 10 years, so I'm setting myself up for that.
Gotcha. So you're over celebrity life?
Oh, not over it, but I could do less of it. Yeah, I love TV now. Like, I like doing background.
Oh, really?
They'd be like, what are you doing in background?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how I'm gonna keep up my union hours, because I die on set. I really do. I'm sitting there and just watching the camera and them just do the same scene, and they cut and then they have to change the camera. I die. So I love doing talk show. Like, I love doing The View, because we got that hour, we get out and we go home. I don't know what I'm gonna do to try to keep up all of my...
You're gonna be all right. You're gonna learn how to sit down.
Please.
You're gonna get to the point where you want to sit down and let everybody else do the work. Like, I've been working my whole life.
True.
Since I was in my teens. So I'm 55. Like, I want to be on the other side now. Yeah, I'm tired of working.
That's me. I feel like I'm working forever too, but I'm just in the play of the fun of it, and I'm gonna blanket my future by just saying I want to be happy and joyous for the rest of my life, and whatever that energy brings to me. I know it's a cop-out statement. I really want. I mean, for career-wise, I mean, for myself, there's so many vast things that I've never had a boyfriend. I've never had my own house. I've never had. There are things that are for my future. That like your aunt, like you, wanting to retire and to take the time for yourself and to just have this, where I would love to have those, and those are still open doors to me. But career-wise, I want to do something more interactive. I'd like to do a hair museum. I really would like to get our hair and makeup as our own award show. That would happen, so kids can not just say, well, this and that, they can actually point and say, well, I want to be like an Oscar James, I want to be like, because we're losing that. And just to show the history of hairdressers in this world. I got an old talk show host, I don't know if it's Lawrence Welk or one of those like old shows from the 60s. And I got it because I wanted to see David Bowie with because he was one of the first ones to have shoulder pads before the 70s or 80s. And to know that shoulder pads came out when he was the first one. And I came across, before he came out on this show, was Betty Davis. And Betty Davis was talking, and so they show the commercial, and some black guy comes out in the 60s and is totally coiffing Betty Davis's hair. Whoa. And I was like, who is this black guy with like chocolate skin touching Betty Davis in the 1960s? And for me to not know that, and it's the same as when I always yell at the young kids now because they don't have any references. Well, we didn't have any references, and I would like to put together something for the world to see that.
You still don't know who that is? You still never found out who it was?
No.
Okay, so on Behind the Scenes Beauty, my last question, which when I asked Raven Simone, she said it was boring, but I'm gonna ask it again. What's beautiful to you?
What's beautiful? Oh, wow. I think just looking into people, like really listening to them and talking to them. And I'm a listener, so to me that's beauty. Like finding someone with a good heart. I did a woman's hair the other day, and she was so sweet. She wasn't the cutest, you know, but she was so sweet. And she goes, I told her she looked beautiful. She said, I'm not beautiful. And I was like, you are beautiful. She had the biggest heart, you know, and to me, that's beautiful. When someone has a big heart and they give, that's beauty to me.
I think there's so much beauty in the world, and so everything's beautiful, but I feel that you catch it when yourself is feeling great about something, or there's a vibration that's higher within yourself. So if you can capture beauty, that means that something's vibrating great inside you, and I think that's the best part of seeing something that's beautiful, because you can see beauty in anything if you're vibrating at that level.
So smart. So true. Because especially nowadays, you can be sitting in the most beautiful place. If your mind is back there or ahead, you just don't see it at all. So you gotta be present to see it.
And there's a definition for editorial beauty, and for like the standard that Orlando taught me was you're never doing the hairstyle for the hairstyle. You're doing the hairstyle for the viewer of the person, so they can feel the beauty of that. And Diana Vreeland's documentary is called "The Eye Must Travel." And Orlando would say that when you're looking at a page or anything that you're looking at, the eye, if it travels comfortably around the face and in the hair, well, then the mind registers that as beauty. And so if you can draw the hair or make the waves, like when you would, like Vanessa would have this, and you travel down and you see that you go from their eyes out, and the way the eye travels, which is her documentary. She's the first editor for Vogue during the editorial era of the 50s and 60s and Abaddon and all that. It makes sense that it's the way your eye travels along the editorial lines or the advertisement, and that's what you want to achieve in this world. I was saying before that when you open the page, you want them to look at it longer than they're flipping, then they stop.
Right.
Oscar did that with me my whole life. It was so beautiful. My eye traveled through Oscar's beauty. Had to look at the gutter. Had to see who it was doing. And that's the same with everything.
Right.
Friend, I am gonna start a GoFundMe for you to get this museum, because no one is a curator of hair like
exactly.
you. So I'm starting to GoFundMe today. Please donate $5.
It's not a game. I got $5.
I got $5 on it. Okay, your future is set.
But I wanted you to give it to me like that.
This?
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
You gotta pop it though.
If not the gun, yes.
Okay.
And I'll learn to pop it like Lizzo did.
Okay, thank y'all so much for doing this. I appreciate you so much. I love you guys, and thank you all for watching.
I'm glad I got to do it with Oscar.
Oh, sisters. That's the only reason I agreed. That's the only reason I agreed.
Me too.
You would do it.
Yes.
I'm like, I'll do it if Chucky's doing it.
And I thought you guys would bounce well off of each other, even though I thought both of you all had so much of a great career to just talk by yourself.
Yeah.